Greetings and good day everyone, my name is Paul Dulong and welcome to the first movie review I've done in a few weeks. I saw Batman vs. Superman on Thursday, opening night, and all I knew after seeing it is that I was definitely going to make a video at some point. However, if I had made that video right away, that would have been a very, very nasty video about that movie because my first impressions were not that great. So I saw it for a second time on Saturday, and my opinion of it did change slightly. I did like it a bit more the second time around because my expectations were just a little bit more in check. I knew what I was getting, and I was able just to digest that film a little bit better. That movie does throw a lot of information at you, and a second viewing does help your enjoyment a bit. That being said, there are still some problems that there are in this movie that I'm going to discuss. And I have to warn you guys, this video is going to have spoilers. This is for people who have seen the movie. I might talk a few minutes more here without spoilers, but eventually we are going to get to a point where I'm going to get into everything. And I will warn you before that happens, but just so you know, this is a spoilers review. If you have not seen this movie yet, you might want to skip it because everything's going to be talked about. However, if you have not seen the movie yet, I definitely say yes. Yes, it is worth seeing in the theater. It does have a few problems, but yes, go see this movie in the theater. It is worth the money that you would spend on it just to immerse yourself into the conversation, just so you can make up your own mind and talk about it, because this is definitely an event film. You know, for better or for worse, there's a lot worth talking about here, and it is fun to have these conversations after you see the movie. For those of you who don't know, I loved Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is a cinematic masterpiece. I think it is the best Superman we've ever had at the movies, and this is from someone who's read a hell of a lot of comics of Superman. So I was thinking, there's no way Snyder's gonna screw up Batman vs. Superman. It's just too awesome of a concept, and this guy knows action sequences. I figured I was gonna have a great time. And when I saw the initial reviews, because people, like, I'm not a professional critic, so I didn't get to see this early. I had to wait till opening night for the general audiences. So when I saw the initial fan reactions, everybody saying, "Oh, it's great! It's the best superhero movie ever! It's better than Man of Steel," my hype level and excitement level just went through the roof. I was like blown away. I was like, "Yes, I'm so ready for this movie." And then the critic reviews came out, and they started trashing it. And I started trashing the critics based on a movie I hadn't seen yet, saying there's no possible way it can be this bad. After seeing the movie, I almost sided with the critics a little bit here, because there's just a lot of problems. Not necessarily Batman or Superman problems, but filmmaking problems. The story was a mess. The editing was a mess. It is a bit sloppy. And, you know, I have to say, all the cast in this movie was great. The biggest criticisms before this movie came out were clearly Ben Affleck as Batman and Jesse Eisenberg as Lex. And Ben Affleck killed it as Batman. He is an awesome Batman. There are story problems a little bit here, but that's not Affleck's fault. Same thing with Lex. Everybody thought he was going to be horrible, and he was clearly having the most fun in this movie. Now, it doesn't mean he's the perfect Lex, because there are definitely issues with that performance. Well, maybe not so much his performance, but the dialogue, the motivation of that character. I mean, I hear people saying, "Well, Lex isn't supposed to be funny, Paul. What the fuck you talking about?" And it's like, well, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor was a bit cartoonish. Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor was a bit cartoonish. John Shea from Lois and Clark, his Lex Luthor was hilarious. Even Michael Rosenbaum, he brought that menacing, dramatic touch to it, but he was also funny as hell in some episodes. There is precedent for Lex Luthor being funny in every single version, at least video version, of Superman that has ever been done. Okay, so before I get into the nitty-gritty of the spoilers here, it does not ruin the DC Cinematic Universe for me. I still think there's a lot here worth seeing. Part of me has to believe that this 3-hour Ultimate Edition that Zack Snyder is putting out on Blu-ray is going to fill in a lot of gaps. I understand that you have to cut a lot out to make that 2.5-hour runtime goal. I just gotta believe that there's a better version of this movie, and we're gonna see it on Blu-ray. However, that does not necessarily mean that there's nothing to like in the theatrical version, because there is. But it's also a bit of a disappointment. And let's get into the spoilers now. So if you watch beyond this point, you can't blame me for spoiling shit, because you have been warned. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ben Affleck again a little bit more here. Hands down, he has some of the best fight scenes we have ever seen from Batman in a cinematic movie. Yes. However, one thing people might complain about is that he's killing people. And yeah, that usually goes against Batman's one rule if you're a Batman fan. However, on the flip side of that, there is precedent for him doing that in other versions. I don't think the main issue here is that he's killing people, although that may be the main issue for some people. But for me personally, I don't care if they want to kill people. If they want Batman to kill people, fine. They want Superman to kill people, fine. I'm a little bit less okay with that than Batman, but fine. The only thing that I do mind about it is they give no explanation as to why he's making that decision. In Man of Steel, we knew why Superman was killing Zod. He had no choice. Batman is killing in situations in this movie where maybe he could have had a choice if he just decided to be more traditional Batman. But, if that wasn't the vision for the movie, that's fine. I have to judge the movie on what it is, not what I want it to be. But this Batman, he's shooting people, he's blowing up people, he's running people over with the Batmobile in cars and crashing those cars. He's breaking a lot of bones, which is definitely the part of Batman I wanted to see. I wanted to see people get seriously messed up because that's Batman to me. But yeah, I can't stress enough, Affleck has nothing to be embarrassed about here. I saw the sad Affleck videos out there. While it's funny, I feel bad for him because he is one of the highlights of the movie. It's better than his Daredevil movie, and I even like the Daredevil movie. Now on to Superman, my personal favorite character of all time. And as I mentioned previously, Superman kills Zod at the end of Man of Steel, which is fine because people said that doesn't make him Superman. Well, killing Zod doesn't make him Superman. His reaction to it makes him Superman. He was not happy about having to kill Zod. Now, in this movie, there was a little bit of a gripe I have, because he seemed to have killed a terrorist that was threatening Lois within the first 10 minutes of the movie, and he did it with a smile on his face. If you want to have Superman killing other superhumans, great. If they're bad guys, fine. Go at it. But I do not believe it is smart for the filmmakers to have Superman killing humans. Why is he killing humans? There's no need. He's faster than a speeding bullet. He could have totally diffused that a lot easier. However, whatever. That's the least of the problems, but it did rub me the wrong way a bit. But generally, their handling of Superman was kind of wasted. The trailer made it sound like he had to answer for all the destruction and at the end of Man of Steel. The thing that most people were complaining about the most. And I love that action, but the idea of Superman having to stand in front of humanity and answer for that really affected me as a Superman fan. It's like, yes, let's get into this. Let Superman stand in front of mankind, explain his actions, and win them over. This does not happen at all. This is a wasted plot device. The trailers had me hyped for it, and it does not exist. Instead, the real reason he's in that courtroom scene is to answer for this Africa part at the beginning of the movie where he kills that one terrorist, but he's made to look like he kills a lot more of them, but he isn't. It's just all Lex framing him bullshit, but whatever. And even that, he doesn't get to explain himself. Okay, we talked about Batman, we talked about Superman. Let's talk about the fight. Personally, I think the fight was well done. Everybody says it's a 20-minute fight scene. It feels a lot faster than that. I think it should have been longer for sure, but visually, it's great. The reason these two are fighting each other is kind of dumb. It should have been better, because there is so much to go for. Batman versus Superman, that is a clash of ideologies, and that is the conflict that should have been explored. Instead, we have Lex Luthor being puppet master, and granted that's not a bad idea, but it shouldn't have been the only idea driving this forward. Yes, Superman does show concerns about Batman's crime-fighting methods. He thinks that the civil liberties have been trampled on, yada yada yada. We see that in the trailer. However, we see pretty much every conversation Batman and Superman have in that trailer. There's no point in the movie where they're actually talking, creating actual friction between them. I mean, they do explain why Batman has a problem with Superman. They did that very well in the first action scene of the movie where Bruce Wayne is watching Metropolis get destroyed, and granted, that's fine. I got that aspect. Superman's only reason for fighting Batman is that Lex Luthor tells him to, or else Lex is going to kill Martha Kent. You know? Threaten Superman's mom, go kill Batman. Which realistically, Lex is setting up Batman to actually kill Superman. The fight scene is great, but the context around it could have been, and should have been, a whole lot deeper and better. There's definitely a lot of divisive opinions about Lex. I think he's one of the better parts of the movie, but he is definitely more psychotic than the Joker in The Dark Knight. Because let me tell you, the Joker might have killed a few people, but Lex kills some people, okay? And he's like kind of crazy. You know, he blows up the UN in the courtroom scene there. You know, he tricks some guy into going there to testify, puts a bomb in his wheelchair, and boom. The fact they did that really kind of sucks because Superman should have been able to explain himself before the bomb went off, just so we as an audience can get that part of Superman saying, hey, this is why I'm here, this is what I do. Superman should have had his chance to win over humanity, and therefore, in turn, win over the audience. Not everybody's a huge Superman fan like me. I would have loved it if the filmmakers gave audiences a bit more of a reason to love Superman. The fact that Lex blows up this courtroom, kills the senator, kills Mercy, and for those of you who know who Mercy is, that's a big deal. But if you're just watching the movie and know nothing about Superman, you'd be like, oh well, who's that? Big problem with the movie there. Yeah, which is the reoccurring thing. There's lots of Easter eggs and treats for you if you've ever read the comics, if you know the characters, but if you are a general film goer who knows nothing about this world, wants to see what this movie is, you're not going to get a lot of it because this movie is not made for the general audience. That is where the bad reviews are coming from. This movie relies way too much on you being a comic book nerd, and I think that's what the problem is. That's what hurt this movie. I mean, it's great to have those Easter eggs in there for the comic book fans, but they have to be explained a bit more for the non-comic book fans because realistically, I don't know the real number right now, but I heard Collider Movie Talk say that, you know, there's only like 1 or 2% of the movie-going audience that are actually comic book fans. And let's talk about the big baddie here at the end. What exactly was Lex Luthor's plan behind creating Doomsday? Let's just assume that Lex Luthor's plan to have Batman kill Superman succeeds. What was he going to do with Doomsday? What the hell was the point of that? And what if Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were unable to defeat Doomsday? You know, it's like, what was the point of Doomsday? Like, what the hell was Lex going to do with Doomsday if Lex won? I have no idea. They never explain it. That's the big problem with Lex as well. He's doing all these cartoonish evil things, which are kind of fun to watch because the actor is clearly having fun doing it, but the exposition is just not there. However, the fact that Doomsday was even in this movie is an epic fail to me, because it gets us to this weird situation where we're forced to do things way too quickly. Now, this movie sadly did what was my greatest fear about this movie for using Doomsday. And this is the spoiler of all spoilers for this movie coming up here soon. Because in my mind, you have no business using Doomsday unless you plan to kill Superman. And spoiler, they did. But that shocked me, not because I didn't think they would do it, but I didn't think they would do it this soon. This is way too soon. Nobody loves Superman. Yeah, they show the odd clips of them treating him like this Jesus figure, which is traditionally canon. That's fine. But they still didn't give the audience a reason to really care about him. Because those clips that they show of humans treating Superman like a savior, it's never earned from the audience's point of view. It's just assumed. They missed the opportunity to really explore that, to flush it out. So when Superman and Doomsday kill each other, you know, this is a moment in cinematic history that me as a Superman fan should have been bawling his ass off. You know? Like, I should have been crying in that theater. Man of Steel made me shed tears, not because I was sad, but because I was so happy at how much of the character they got right. But when this happens in this movie, I feel absolutely nothing. And that's a problem. When Superman dies, the audience should be crying, or at least want to cry, get a little, misty-eyed. I mean, that's the point of movies, right? If you're trying to have an emotional reaction, You gotta feed that emotion, right? It's just not there. There's nothing there. I felt nothing. Me, one of the biggest Superman fans I know, feels nothing when you kill Superman. That's a problem. You know, in the first movie, his two Robin Hood dads wanted Superman to stand proud in front of mankind, lead them into creating wonders and create hope for the world and inspire them, and that if it happens off screen, and that's a problem, because had we have gone on that journey, had they had told that story first, like Doomsday was just a bad villain. They should have had, Bizarro or Metallo, because the introduction to Kryptonite would have been a good thing there. I mean, I get it, they want to be dark, but Doomsday is a movie 3, movie 4 type of villain, okay? I mean, I've gone on record saying that a movie has zero responsibility of being true to the comics, so long as they're making a good movie. There's just parts of this movie that are emotionally numb. It makes no sense. We're not invested as much as we should be. Wonder Woman should not have been in this movie. Although the fact that she is in this movie is kind of fun. I did like her more the second time around, but my first initial response to it was, okay, she's doing a good job. She looks like Wonder Woman, and I was hard on that casting when it was first announced. Out of all the casting of the whole movie, I was giving Gal Gadot, or Gadot, or however the hell you pronounce her name, I was giving this Wonder Woman a hard-ass time. Yeah, she looks good, she looks the part, but this woman is not a convincing actress at all. But she might get better as she goes along, but she didn't ruin the movie. I mean, she does have some great moments in the movie. During the fight with Doomsday, Doomsday's beaten down on her, and she actually stops and smiles. That was a good moment, because she was in the fight, finally competition, eh? She was getting a good fight, and she was loving it, and the comic book fan in me was loving that part. That was a great part in the movie. It does make me a lot more excited to see her standalone movie, but man, the movie as a cohesive story didn't really need her. But yes, so now you hear me talking about the comic book Trinity fighting Doomsday. So you realize at some point the Batman and Superman have to become friends. While I understand what they were doing, I don't think they handled it well. The one thing that stops Batman from killing Superman is the fact that Batman and Superman's mom share the same first name. I get that concept, but the concept and the execution are two totally different things. Clark's on the ground in pain from the kryptonite, and he's like, "Save Martha!" Realistically, I know that flips a switch in Batman's mind, "Why are you saying that name?" and all this stuff, and then Lois comes in and says, "Oh, it's his mom, it's his mother, it's his mother." And then that's when Batman clicks, maybe I'm being played here, right? And he throws it away. He's like, "Ah." But it was handled wrong. Where was Superman's look that he was giving all over Man of Steel when that guy in the bar was slapping that waitress's ass, and he goes over to the guy and he gives him a genuine look, a non-threatening look, before he saves Lois there when she gets zapped and he cauterizes her wound. He gives her this look that I am not here to hurt you look. And had he given Batman that look once, maybe it would have fed the emotional story a bit. So I get it. Instead of Superman saying, "Save Martha," he should have been like, "Bruce, save my mother. Save my mother." And this is the moment of the movie where Batman realizes that, whoa, Superman has a mother. He has a family. He has a woman that loves him. He has humanity. And while I got that more so on the second viewing, it is handled just so sloppily and so quickly that the audience might miss it. The audience might miss it and not even care at that point. Martha Kent, although she was used as a plot device several times, I feel they dropped the ball with her as well. In the trailer you see that one part where she's talking to Superman and she's like, "Be their monument, be their hero, or be none of it. You don't owe this world a thing." I feel that should have been a great scene, but when you watch the movie, that is the only part of the scene you actually get to see. Clark, or Superman, doesn't even actually say anything in that conversation. We never get a chance to see how Clark feels. We get to see how humanity feels about the idea of Superman. We never really get Superman's point of view on it, and And again, that's a wasted opportunity. Another thing that had no place in this movie was the introduction to the other members of the Justice League. You know what? This movie is already jam-packed with information, way more busy than it should be. We do not need to see the Flash. We do not need to see Aquaman. We do not need to see Cyborg. These are things that could be done later. And while they didn't make the movie too crowded because they were very quick scenes, they still made the movie stop and become something else. This movie became, instead of this movie standing on its own, being its own thing, this movie ended up becoming a 2.5-hour commercial for the next movie. And that is not okay. In closing, the Dawn of Justice part was unneeded. Killing Superman was wasted because it was too soon, nobody cared, and they couldn't even double down on it. The very last shot of the movie, where they show Clark in his coffin, Lois puts the dirt on the coffin, and right before the credits roll, you see the dirt on the coffin start to rise a little bit, so, with those gravity effects, similar to when in Man of Steel, when Clark first took flight. If you're gonna kill Superman, kill him! Don't bring him back or hint that he's going to be coming back. They threw too much into this movie. As long-winded as the movie was, in turn it deserves a long-ass winded review by me. So I'm going to end it here because I'm sure this video was way longer than it should even be. But I had a lot to say about this movie. I hope I did it in a calm, rational manner, because my first inclination was to come out here screaming and yelling. And while that might have been a bit more entertaining, you know, I wanted to just do this with a cool head, you know, and I wanted to give it a fair shot, because what was bothering me the most as a Superman fan is that there was a Superman movie playing in theaters right now, and I kind of didn't care. But I'm glad I saw it the second time, because it made me like it. I'll probably gonna go see it again. I want to see it in IMAX, just because they say that the fight scenes between Batman and Superman in IMAX look amazing, so I want to see it there. But yeah, final score, 7.0 out of 10. Go see it for yourself, people. Go see it. Get in the conversation. Comment in the comment section. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. Do you think this ruins the future of the DCU? Personally, I don't think so. I still want to see all these other movies that they have planned. I just feel this was a bit of a disappointment, but not a bad movie. If I was an actual critic on Rotten Tomatoes, I would not have given this a rotten. It still gets a fresh from me, but it has a little asterisk saying it should have been better. But it is not horrible. That's just what I think. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I know I haven't been all that active with it lately, but I'm going to try and change that as times go on. But the truth is, I have health issues here that's preventing me from doing this as much as I would like. It hurts me just to stand up this long doing this. But this is a review I just had to do because this is such a big deal for me. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you made it this far through the video, I'll see you soon.